He's editor-in-chief of Breitbart News and a New York Times best-selling author. And on this podcast, he brings deep research, prescient analysis, and world-class guests. He's Alex Marlow, and this is the Alex Marlow Show.
All right, welcome to the Marlow Show. Big show. Should be a big week. We got a lot happening in Washington. We got the big, beautiful bill. We've got explosions in Palm Springs, right in my parents' neck of the woods. We've got a massive Supreme Court ruling that just came down. But we'll start with the biggest thing, which is Joe Biden's cancer diagnosis that came through over the weekend. And initial reports are that it's stage 4 prostate cancer, spread to his bones, metastatic. And there was a lot of alarm that was taking place about perhaps if there was a cover up. But I'll say that it continues to be a part of this news cycle where there's questions about how much we've been told about Joe Biden and his health and his cognitive abilities and his ability to function as the president. This is partially a function of a book that's coming out, I think it's tomorrow, written by Jake Tapper, the fake news anchor on CNN, and a guy from Axios who have been trying to spin this web that there was a small cadre of Biden associates who had covered up Biden's cognitive decline, and they had essentially successfully fooled the entire country. So these geniuses had somehow pulled off some sort of incredible hoax, incredible ruse that all of us bought into, that no one saw that Joe Biden was declining mentally. And all it is a way to pass the buck, to pass the blame for the media that was a very much a factor in the cover up. And so it's not a cover up, it's a gaslighting. John Nolte had a pretty brilliant breakdown of this on this very show on Friday, which I saw got a lot of spins on the records. So the record player was spinning a lot for this one. So that's great. And I appreciate all of you. Check that out. He's got a good explanation, but the media was a part of it, always was a part of it. Never was a cover-up. It was always a gaslighting. Everyone knew that Joe Biden was in cognitive decline, but we got more evidence that came out, breaking news on Friday. It's funny because I was on Laura Ingram's show when this came out and they played it and I had to react to it on the fly, and I got to say some of my favorite things that I've been saying, which is not a cover-up. Everyone knew. The media knew. But let's see. So this is Robert Hur, who is a special counsel, looked into Biden, who said he couldn't be prosecuted because he was so frail mentally. We got some audio, and it's kind of hard to make out, but I'll play a little bit of it. But he basically doesn't know, as usual, where Beau Biden died. That's the gist of it. But let me give you a little taste of it.
So during this time...
Well, I don't know. This is what, 2017, 18, that area?
Yes, sir.
Remember, in this time frame, my son is either been deployed or is dying. And so it was, and by the way, there were still a lot of people at the time when I got out of the Senate that were encouraging me to run in this period, except the president. It's not a mean thing to say, but he just thought that he had a better shot of winning the presidency than I did.
All right, so you guys get the picture. He doesn't seem all there. He's mumbling. He's not saying anything. He gets a lot of dates confused. He gets time confused. This is from October 2023. So, but here's the thing that I keep emphasizing is that everyone knew that he was in mental decline. I flagged something for all of you because I wanted to make this point, and I'm going to read from Breaking Biden. This is page 21 of Breaking Biden, which was published in, what was it? It was 2023 October. So I probably wrote this in late 2022. In fact, Biden claimed that he was constantly tested for cognitive decline when at the campaign trail in 2020. Yet a month later, Joe said he hadn't taken any cognitive test and lashed out if he had. No, I haven't taken a test. Why the hell would I take a test? Biden told a reporter representing the National Association of Black Journalists and National Association of Hispanic Journalists. Come on, man. That's like saying before you got on this program, you take a test and you're taking cocaine or not. What do you think, huh? Are you a junkie? Asking a BIPOC journalist if he or she is a junkie would have been grounds for cancellation from public life if Biden were a conservative. But this attack came and went from the news cycle rather quickly. The perks of being a Democrat. What's more, forgetting if you've ever taken a mental acuity test might be a sign of waning mental acuity. But I'm not a doctor, so who am I to say? Now, on the other side of 80, it's clear that Joe Biden is not of sound body and mind, but his doctors have not been forthcoming with us. As with most things, Biden denies the obvious truth about his health until he has no other option. Based on a physical exam conducted in early 23, his afflictions are merely acid reflux and a stiff gait. This beggars belief. Dr. Neil Castle, the doctor who performed both aneurysm surgeries on Biden in 1988, remember he had aneurysm surgeries in 1988, told Politico that Biden fully recovered and by the 2020 campaign was every bit as sharp as he was 31 years ago. That's great news. Now can we see the results of the mental acuity tests? Oh, right. We don't know if he's actually taken any. That was from, so I guess I must have written that in 2023, given the dates there, but that's 2 years ago. It's a fact. We know it. He's in mental decline. So whatever cover up there was not very successful because we all knew Democrats nominated him anyway and tried to keep him around as long as humanly possible until he had that horrible debate and the media was a part of it. Jake Tapper was a part of it, etc. So just know that when you're watching this news cycle that you are being gaslit by the media that's trying to get away with murder here, bloody murder. And so that brings us to where we are with the Biden cancer diagnosis. Now, if any of you spend a lot of time on social media or spent time on X, the Everything app, over the weekend, then you would have heard that this must be a cover-up, that it is impossible for Joe Biden to have had this sort of a progressed cancer without it being known to him and known to the public. So I've got some news that I try to call it like I see it, and I try not to use try to follow trends so that you know you're getting the cutting edge information. You guys know my family background. I have several oncologists in my family, and thus my network of friends is extensive in this way. I talk to people over the weekend, and everything that thus far has been reported is entirely plausible. So this cancer that Biden has in the prostate, he's over 80, incredibly common, highly common diagnosis. And though it has metastasized to the bone, that's the first place that it goes. So it would have been a worse prognosis for him if it had gotten into the lungs or the liver. A lot of the modern treatments now for this are not particularly invasive, and his prognosis could be as high as 5 years. And his age could be something that he dies of something else. So it's one of these things where he's going to take medicine that will severely decrease his libido, by the way. So that'll be really interesting for the old horn dog, Joe Biden, at a minimum. But the idea that he was taking some sort of medication that causes cognitive decline, another thing I'm seeing online, not true. The idea that this couldn't have been missed in other screenings, also highly plausible that other screenings would not have caught this. So if you're getting your oncology information from X, the Everything app, and your favorite influencers, you're probably not getting the full picture. You're probably getting a worst case scenario. That said, I am very pleased and completely comfortable with people having skepticism of the reports from Biden and Biden's camp because they've lied to us every step of the way. Thus, exactly why I read that paragraph from Breaking Biden. They simply will not tell us what's wrong with him. One other part of Breaking Biden is it was revealed in 2023 that he had sleep apnea, but apparently he had sleep apnea since 2008 and no one had told us about it. So he had this condition, which is not a big deal. A lot of people have sleep apnea, but he had these marks on his face and that came out. And people figured out, well, it was a CPAP machine, which is what you use sleep at night with the big gas mask on your face, you get sleep apnea. Why wouldn't you share this with us? Because they don't like giving information until the absolute last possible minute. So there is no reason to trust that you're getting full and accurate information from the Bidens. So if this story develops, we could learn the situation's much worse than it is. But theoretically, what he's got is something that it's quite possible the reports are accurate, but they do not deserve the benefit of the doubt. They absolutely do not deserve the benefit of the doubt, and they do not deserve to be treated as if they're telling us the truth. So the timing of it is also quite interesting because perhaps it could engender through some circles some level of sympathy as this book is coming out. A lot of people have speculated on that, and it is conceivable. I mean, I feel like that they probably would have put this information out a while ago. But remember, I had the report in the show a couple of weeks ago. There's a nodule on his prostate. Common to find that stuff. They did a biopsy. They learned it was cancer. That it all theoretically could make sense. So that is where we're at on that. I will continue to keep you posted on that as the story develops. Let's get a sense of how the media reacted to this. Let's see. We got some Misty pulled some clips for me. Let's see how the media dealt with all this.
Look, this is
on CNN.
Breaking news that came just about 2 hours ago, and it is now rippling through, television media, online. How are people consuming this? How is it reaching people?
And, I'm seeing some prostate cancer survivors, people who have lived with this disease, who have been through this, expressing support, both condolences, but also support and cheering Biden on as he faces this. The timing, Jessica, is just extraordinary. We know from the statement from his personal spokesman that Biden learned of the diagnosis on Friday. Well, what was the biggest Biden story on Friday? It was the release of those audio excerpts from his conversations with Robert Hur back in 2023. This was the audio that Axios obtained, almost certainly from the Trump administration, showing memory lapses. And you heard a lot of people on Friday talking about that audio being hard to hear, even excruciating to hear. Biden showing his age on those audio tapes that had never been heard by the public until now. So on the day that story was breaking, Biden was facing this personal news. At least that's according to the statement from his personal spokesman. So you have that as one element of the timing here. And then you have, as you and Paul just acknowledged, this book coming out, one of the biggest political books in several years. Take out our colleague Jake Tapper for a second. This book, no matter where. All
right, so Brian, so it's a pretty good report. That's exactly. It's totally plausible, and it is plausible that Biden got the diagnosis on Friday. It just is, and unfortunately, I don't mean to burst people's bubble, but theoretically, we could be being told the truth. Though I love that people are immediately skeptical. No one trusts it. They don't deserve our trust. They don't deserve our respect because they've hidden so much. This is one of the lessons that you teach your kids, is that once you lose your credibility, it's a big deal. As I was talking to one of my children about this over the weekend, I was talking about the fact that if you lose your credibility early on, if people think you're making up stories early on in your life, then it's very hard to claw back that integrity. You want to have that reputation for integrity. Joe Biden doesn't have it. He has not had it. The Democrats don't have it. They rigged their own primaries. This was kind of unbelievable. This came up over the weekend. Bernie Sanders was on the Andrew Schultz podcast, and he was pointing out the Democrats keep winning their own primaries, and Bernie Sanders wouldn't defend them. Check this out.
The problem I think a lot of voters had is they didn't even know if it was her. We didn't even know if Biden was president. We didn't even know if these were her talking points. And we felt that over the last 4 elections, Democrats, we felt that we didn't have a say on who could be president. We talk a lot about the Republicans being autocrats and oligarchs and taking over democracy. But from the Democrat perspective, and I'm a lifelong Democrat, I felt like the Democratic Party completely removed the democratic process from its constituents. And I think they need to have some accountability of that.
No argument here.
I donated for you. I wanted you to 2016. I was like, this is going to happen. This guy's going to do it. And it felt like they stole it from me. And I'll be honest, it broke my heart when you supported him.
Look, but you have, in the world that I live in, you got a choice. And a lot of people, including my wife, agree with you. But, you're down to a choice. Is it going to be Hillary Clinton or is it going to be Donald Trump? Not a great choice.
But it ended up being him anyway, so why don't we burn it down?
Well, because it's easy to say burning it down means that children are not going to have, food to eat, that the schools will deteriorate, people will not have health care.
I got it.
And I'm an elected official. I got to represent the people.
That's fair.
And I can't turn my back on.
But then could we not also say, if ostensibly there hasn't been a fair primary for the Democrats since 2008, are they not also a threat to democracy? Yes. We often hear.
Fair enough. That is, yeah, I'm not going to argue with that point.
That's the money quote. And I've got some research coming out, and I'm going to break this down for you guys later in the year. But the Democrats did rig that primary in 2016. It's crystal clear. And Bernie Sanders went along with it. He allowed for it to happen because he's mostly he likes to give the speeches and everyone tell him he's great and he's a genius and he's a revolutionary, all that stuff. he's part of the problem. He went along with it. He was too afraid to do anything about it. But yes, they did rig that primary for Hillary Clinton. They rigged their primaries. That's what they do. They anointed Joe Biden. And when Joe Biden was only to the point where it was impossible for him, it was untenable for him to win, that they then anointed Kamala Harris without some sort of a contested convention, without really any ability for the voters to weigh in, and she got her clock clean. And this is what is really interesting, and a place where I wanted to go with this conversation, because I had a very cool weekend. I went to my wife's 20th reunion of our Beverly Hills prep school. So it's funny because my wife and I were in consecutive classes at the school. We met in high school. I was a year older, a grade older. And it's funny because I would never think to go to my own high school reunion, though I guess it'd be cool. People would probably want to talk to me. But I went to my wife's. I have a couple friends in her class also that I'm still in touch with. So it was a fun occasion. But, people know what I do for work. And it's nice that, Trump's won and people see how well we're doing at Breitbart. And for the most part, people are very friendly to me overall. And it's really interesting to talk to some of the people who are there. Some of them are involved in Democrat politics. Others are involved in Democrat activism and new media. Others are connected to top Democrat power players and donors on the entertainment side, in the entertainment world, who work on their production companies. And across the board, the consensus amongst the people that I spoke to is that Democrats have no bench, and they were mocking the Democrats. I made the joke that I made on this show about Dick Durbin, where it's bad when Dick Durbin's retiring and he's only 80 years old, which is, peak. It is peak athletic. It's the athletic peak of a Democrat senator. So people were liking that joke. Even the left was liking it. They understand they've got no bench. The only positive thing that any of them said to me about any of the Democrats who are waiting in the wings is that AOC has great skin, apparently, which doesn't shock me. She's a good-looking woman. It's just true. It just is. I was told she's got great skin. So that's it. That was the only positive thing that any of them said about Democrats. They all know this is the inside of the Hollywood Democrat establishment talking to me, and they're bummed out. They don't know what to do. And that's why this Biden narrative is coming out. That's why they're trying to scapegoat Joe Biden. They're trying to point all their guns at Joe Biden. They want it. They're praying for it. They're hoping for it just to be Joe Biden's fault and not to be their collective fault, that they all abdicated their responsibility to defend their party, to defend democracy, and to be able to have some sort of integrity to the process. And they can't do it. And they're lost. They're completely lost. And they've decided they're going to blame Biden. And Biden's retort is, hey, I've got cancer, but that could actually be legit. And that's where we are. And that is, I think, quite interesting that that's where it is. Apparently, we've got, let's see, I got some more audio. Let's see what Misty's got for me. She's grabbed some relevant content. Here we go.
Look, I mean, first of all, of course, we wish the best for the former
Vance,
president's health.
Talking about Biden.
And, it sounds pretty serious, but hopefully he makes the right recovery. Look, I will say, whether the right time to have this conversation is now or at some point in the future, we really do need to be honest about whether the former president was capable of doing the job. And that's no... that you can separate the desire for him to have the right health outcome with the recognition that whether it was doctors or whether there were staffers around the former president, I don't think he was able to do a good job for the American people. And that's not politics. That's not because I disagreed with him on policy. That's because I don't think that he was in good enough health. In some ways, I blame him less than I blame the people around him. And why didn't the American people have a better sense of his health picture? Why didn't the American people have more accurate information about what he was actually dealing with? This is serious stuff.
Yeah, as usual, Vance is right about this stuff. It's a good analysis, and I think he takes the right tone, which is also very appealing to me. But it is noteworthy. It's not just the people around him, too. It's the media. It's the Democrat apparatus, the Democrat establishment. It's the Democrat voters who should have seen this. They should have known better. They kept voting for him. Many of them still wanted him to run for president, which is shocking. So they were all a part of it. And just remember, don't act like we're going to, point the finger at Jill and a couple of advisors and say it was all their fault. It's not just their fault. It's not just the corrupt Biden family's fault, who, of course, wanted him to stay in power because that was a gravy train and they wanted to hang on for dear life. I said this on the show, and I will say this repeatedly, that it is that $30 million book deal that Biden could be getting. I mean, all of that was clearly negotiated before he stepped down to make sure that he could get the kickbacks necessary. So it's a lot of that. I'm not saying with the final negotiations, I'm going to get taken out of context completely, but you can bet that conversation took place before he agreed to step aside. There's so many people involved in this, and don't act like some of these left-wing reporters are part of the solution. They're part of the problem, and they deserve just as much blame, even if they're trying to act like they're on the right side now. So whether or not there's anything that can be done about the fact that we don't know really who is calling the shots in the Biden White House, at least all the time, I think Joe put the people in place that Joe believed in. I think the Democrats understood that. I think that's what was understood, is that Biden, at 50 years in Washington, knew how to pull the levers of power. He knew everyone in Washington, and he was going to be able to pass the wealth around in terms of responsibilities. So President Trump has said Biden's auto pen scandal is growing bigger by the moment. This was over the weekend after the Hur tapes, and this was before the cancer diagnosis. He truth bombed whoever had control of the auto pen is looking to be a bigger and bigger scandal by the moment. It is a major part of the real crime that the presidential election of 2020 was rigged and stolen. Millions and millions of people knew that, but the radical left Democrats waged a campaign of inoculation and innocence like none that had ever been waged before. This is why the Unselect Committee of Political Thugs, who were given a full and complete pardon by the person who wielded the now illegally used auto pen, deleted and destroyed all evidence and information from their corrupt and vicious witch hunt against me and many other people whose lives are completely shattered and destroyed by this historically criminal event. He goes on from there. He calls out Comey. He calls out some others, calls the election rigged. It's good stuff. Trump's truth bombs have just been just off the charts. I will tell you that one other thing that did come up while I was at the reunion was even the Democrats were complimenting his takedown of Taylor Swift from over the weekend, where he was on the plane coming home from brokering Middle East peace and said that Taylor Swift is not hot right now, which even people on the left are going, this guy is just like, he's an unstoppable comedic force and it's just endlessly compelling. It's true. He really does have a way with words cutting to the quick. And so glad to have him. Glad he's our guy and not Joe Biden. All right. Apparently we got Libs calling out Biden. This is another clip that Misty's grabbed. Let's see what this says.
If Democrats ever want to be trusted again by the American public, they must take this story very seriously. This is a critical moment for the health of the Democrats.
This is a left-wing influencer, apparently, and he's pointing to a NBC News headline, audio of interview confirms Biden memory lapses.
Democratic Party. We must, in unison, reject the small group of insiders that kept this a secret and push forward by publicly getting them out of the Democratic Party. The worst thing Democrats can do, and are already currently doing, is say, okay, this is kind of bad, but look how bad Trump is. This is not a Trump versus Biden situation. This is a Joe Biden situation, and it is...
Let me translate this back. This is an opportunity to scapegoat Joe Biden for all the bad stuff we all did, for empowering the corrupt media, for lying to the public about Joe Biden and people in our personal lives who don't pay attention to politics. We all knew he was deteriorating mentally. We all knew he was incapacitated. We all knew he was in no position to carry out the responsibilities of President of the United States. We all went along with it, and now we've got our opportunity. We've got our off-ramp. We've got our chance to say that this was his fault and a bunch of shadowy insiders alone, and we can blame it all on them. That's where this is going on.
And it is very, very damaging to the public trust of the Democratic Party. And trust me, I know there's a lot of people on the left who are going to hear what I'm saying and say, no, I don't agree with you. Let's just focus on Trump. And to them, I say, if we can't own our own mistakes, we can't possibly be taken seriously by anybody when we call out the mistakes of the other side.
Part of the reason why I bring up how weak their bench is right now is because that's why they've got time for this, is that they don't know where they're going next. They don't know what their next moves are. They don't know how to handle any of this. So this is where they are, is that they're just trying to look for ways to try to come up with something positive and maybe being able to, maybe their best move, because they don't have a clear leader of the party at the moment. And Kamala Harris was clearly a part of this. So you could end up losing, hey, here's something just dawning on me in real time. This could be another way for them to jettison Harris, who, if she runs, is likely to get nominated and is likely to lose. So it is another opportunity for them. Folks, have you seen what's happening with gold this year? It is up well over 20% right now. It's broken past $3,200 an ounce, and I think it's going up from there. Meanwhile, stock market is a mess, up, down, losing trillions, bouncing around wildly. You have no idea what tomorrow is going to bring. And with new tariffs shaking up trade, inflation still running pretty hot, our national debt, $36 trillion. Unfortunately, the big, beautiful bill, as much as I love it, is probably going to add to it. Goldman Sachs is saying gold could hit $3,700 before the year's out. Central banks are buying gold at record levels, and my friends at Priority Gold have a free gold info guide to you to show you exactly how you can purchase gold yourself. You learn how to lock in gold's rates today and how easily it is to make gold a part of your IRA or your 401k, tax and penalty free. This is such a big opportunity because if you look at the numbers, I'm looking at them right now, gold is up 21% year to date, 33% in the last year. 5 years, gold's almost doubled. This is not just the greatest hedge. It's sort of a no-brainer. And we got great partners. PriorityGold.com/freedom, or you can text the letters SNC, Salem News Channel, SNC to 24999. PriorityGold.com/freedom or SNC to 24999, and they'll get you set up. Good people, good move to do it. Get your free gold info guide now with Priority Gold. So it's the opportunity for them to start clearing the deck, and I think that's what they want to do. And I think that is just read between the lines here with all this, and that's all I'm asking. I will say something on the cancer front that's noteworthy. The terrible news today that Scott Adams, who is a podcaster, cartoonist, author, pundit, burrito inventor, really one of the most interesting Americans around. I've read several of his books. Her books are always interesting, one of the most interesting thinkers around. I think he co-wrote a book with Joel Pollack, who was on the show with me last week. But the best known for Dilbert, created the Dilbert comic, but he does a lot of other stuff as well. He revealed he's got the same prostate cancer allegedly as Biden, but his prognosis is much worse. And he said that he doesn't expect to live past the summer. I hope he's not being literal. I hope it's not good news, but he had a really fascinating post online that describes some of this. And of course, the news in and of itself is completely devastating and shocking. I couldn't believe it. I saw it come across my feed several times before I realized he's actually being serious here. And it really horrific stuff. But he also notes that he thinks it's possible that Biden did find out over the weekend. And he also admitted using all sorts of experimental drugs have been popularized and, online circles like ivermectin to treat cancer, and none of that worked out. And it sounds like a harrowing and horrible journey. And truly he's in our prayers, and hopefully a miracle happens, but one of the absolute best. And it's really nice that we have so many comic strips and books of his to go through in case the worst happens. But prayers to Scott Adams, but pretty remarkable that came up over the weekend. I couldn't believe it. It seemed too coincidental, but it was noteworthy. But also he doesn't doubt the media reported Biden story, which is interesting. He's also a professional contrarian. So he and I have that in common. But it is a noteworthy that came up. And we're thinking about him at the Marlow Show and at Breitbart in general. Okay, moving on. Other news, lots of big news out there. The big, beautiful bill, I'll give you guys an update on that. It's moved a step closer to reality as of Sunday night. Still a lot of work to be done. We're going to have a lot of updates this week. I'm going to try to go heavy on some political guests, which sometimes I think political guests don't make the best news, but when politics is the center of the world, then it does. So we'll have some political guests this week. Only good ones. Only have the best guests for you. But 4 conservatives who voted no in committee changed their vote to present. So there's some really good stuff in here. Immigration and border security, basically a Republican's dream in this. We're very happy with this. More for the wall, more for ICE, and all the greatest hits. My favorite one, I talked about this a little bit on Charlie Kirk and his podcast today, is the remittances are going to be taxed. So it's not just for illegal aliens, I think, but for regular immigrants as well. You can't just make money in America and send it home without it getting taxed. It's just, we're going to stop it, we're going to track it, and we're going to tax you. This greatly disincentivizes illegal immigration, and it helps our treasury. Absolute win-win. Tax relief. So the right loves this. So no taxes on tip, no taxes on overtime, no taxes on Social Security. The temporary tax breaks for manufacturers to restore operations. So more in the reshoring. Just fantastic. Makes the 2017 tax cuts permanent. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Every bit of that is just great, great news. But here's where it gets most interesting. Spending reductions. So spending reductions are substantial. well north of $1 trillion, could be much more in the final bill. At least $1.6 trillion in mandatory savings in this draft, including big Medicaid reforms, changes in regulation that could eliminate 1.4 million illegal aliens from Medicaid rolls and work requirements. And it repeals most of the Inflation Reduction Act, which is awesome. All that's great. But the problem is, will reduced revenues into the Treasury, will that cancel out? And that is a big question. And will we be satisfied with it? For me, I'll be cool with it just because I want to see Trump's agenda get through, but I do want the best bill possible. I hopefully something does pass, but it's going to be the immigration stuff. It's going to be so tough that no Democrat's going to support it. So we've got to keep the Republican coalition together on this. And we don't want to completely bloat the budget, the deficit, et cetera, if we can avoid it. And it's going to be tough to do because even though I think that tax cuts are great for the economy mid to long term, they're great short term, and mid to long term, I think it ends up growing the pie. Short term, it does have a reduction in revenue into the Treasury. And with a debt as big as ours, that becomes a problem. Because remember, we need so much just even to service the debt. It's the biggest expenditure we got, even more than defense. So the reductions are crucial to watch out for how big those are. We want them really, really big. We want to lock in a lot of those DOGE changes. We'll have Senator Ernst hopefully this week. I'm going to talk about the path to doing that in the Senate. This is the big thing, is that will the reductions add up to the tax cuts? That's what we're looking for. The answer is probably not, but how close can we get? All right, so a couple of the holdouts that are issues, particularly for conservatives, they want more Medicaid reforms. They want able-bodied people to have a work requirement that kicks in right away. I think there is one, but it doesn't kick in for several years for Medicaid. And Chip Roy and others are flagging parts of the Inflation Reduction Act, which are staying, including some green stuff, which is not good. We got to get that stuff taken out. Hopefully we got time to do that. The SALT debate continues, and this is pretty confusing because currently the SALT cap, the state and local tax reduction cap, that expires in 2027. Speaker Johnson's offered a $30,000 cap, but most people still want more. This is also interesting because this does favor a lot of those blue states with those higher tax rates, that more people be included in the state and local tax deduction. And there's some people want basically an unlimited cap. So I don't even know how that works. How would that work in a state like mine where there's huge state and local taxes? Is that a big handout to blue states, blue areas? I don't know. I don't know if everyone's going to go along with that and where that's going to net out when that negotiation takes place. But that negotiation is still happening, and there's a lot of people who I think could die on this hill. So we will see, keep you posted on where that is. But it looks like we're at 30K now. Could it go up? Could it go back down? Probably not down, but a lot of people want more. And this could be a way to court voters in places like my area, where I live in a 50-50 swing district. And the last couple of terms was Democrat congressman. Now I got the Republican congressman. Democrat won in 2024. So a very narrow race. The better mail-in voting organization, stuff like that. Tough stuff. So it is one of these things where things like that could potentially be the difference in a swing seat like mine. So just keeping an eye on it. And that's where we are. Good news, though, it's moving forward, but still some flaws. And we'll keep you posted on where things are going from there. All right. So Trump said Trump is going to get involved allegedly. So he's going to start negotiating the big, beautiful bill, and we will see where it goes. But high hopes for the big, beautiful bill. Here's the thing about big, beautiful bill. Build Back Better was BBB. Big, beautiful bill, BBB. Trump's adding the one big, beautiful bill. I don't know about the one thing. I don't get it. But okay. There you go. You got it. It's moving. All right. Other things, huge news weekend again. One dead at a fertility clinic, damaged in Palm Springs, car explosion. This was where my parents live. It was just a few blocks away from where my parents live. And I talked to my mother about it, and she said it felt like a bomb went off. The photos are absolutely harrowing. A fertility clinic just exploded. Right in Palm Springs, California. The American Reproductive Centers. This is a place for people to help have babies. So this is not an abortion clinic. And from the reports that we're seeing in the media, that the one person who died, who is the suspect, so one of these suicide bombing type deals, it appears, had an anti-pro-life manifesto. And the FBI is looking into it, but there's a center where a lot of people went for IVF, other ways to try to have children. And it was really an anti-life thing. So they don't like pro-life people. They don't like babies. And it seems like a crazy person. So I'm not giving the name, I'm not trying to dwell on it. But I will flag that be wary of media reports that suggest that or some sort of false equivalence that this is the same as some sort of attack on an abortion clinic. It's not. And these things tend to happen in bunches. I did a lot of reporting on this back in 2022 over the summer of rage, particularly in the state of Wisconsin, where there's a rash of attacks on these clinics. And a lot of these bad actors are fairly thoughtful about it, and they come up with ways to stay where they're getting a certain level of attention, but not too much attention so that they get a real national focus on it. That's why they do these things early in the morning or late at night. No one else died, though 4 other people were injured here. A lot of this is targeted specifically to try to create just the right amount of tension at these places without, causing some sort of a national uprising that ends up having them all snuffed out of their movement. But a lot of reason to be concerned that this could be the beginning of something else that is more widespread. So the crazy photos at Breitbart.com if you want to see that. Other big news: Mexican Navy training ship struck the Brooklyn Bridge, killing at least 2. Absolutely bizarre scenarios. The top of the mast, it's got a name for the ship. I'm sure most of you have seen this at this point online, but almost you can't believe it. But a couple people have died so far. But a Mexican Navy ship was supposed to go out to sea, ended up running in the wrong direction towards the Brooklyn Bridge. Reports of a power outage. I don't really know what to read into it. If you guys got a take, aloha@alexmarlow.com. Please share with me. Unbelievable. The Brooklyn Bridge taking out a Mexican ship is just wild to think about it. I don't know how stuff like this could happen, but at least 2 people are dead, and the footage is just mind blowing. I just don't know how these things happen. But the scene unfolded with the sailing ship departed New York's Pier 17 around 8:20 p.m. And immediately calls coming out to 911 that the ship was not supposed to go where it was heading. 22 people injured so far, 19 taken to the hospital, a couple people died. Boat was just going the wrong direction, senior officials said, and wild. Just wasn't supposed to be heading that direction. So why was it? We'll try to figure it out and report back at Breitbart News. Next big one. Breaking this morning on Monday, Supreme Court allowing Trump to strip protections from some Venezuelans. This could lead to massive deportations. We're talking about 350,000 Venezuelans, potentially exposing them to deportation. Only one dissent from Ketanji Brown Jackson. That's why elections matter, guys. You got to get the best people in there. It was overruling a temporary protected status, TPS status, that was put in place for Venezuelans, that was put in place by a San Francisco judge. So they were allowed, if they were in the United States, they could live and work legally because their native countries were deemed unsafe due to natural disaster and civil strife. That has been ruled. The Supreme Court said Trump can overturn that, and that's where we're at. So good news, more deportations to come, and also credit to Trump for staying the course. Don't have to be perfect here. And his approach that he's not going to defy court orders, I think, is aging very well, because he's going to win a lot of battles here, and he's going to be engendering a sympathy and support for long-term gains. Choosing not to defy courts is the right move as of now, because I do not see the upside in doing it. I think it would be ill-advised to do that. I know a lot of your favorite personalities, a lot of my favorite personalities on X the Everything app would have you believe that he needs to do something radical and drastic. I'm not seeing the path to doing that in an effective way as of now. So just important that I flag that you're going to get a lot of wins, more wins than losses, I think, if we stay the course and let the court do its thing. And a friendly reminder that we need to win every single election, both national, state, local, judges. We got to be on top of this, and that's the best way to get these things done. All right, let's see what else. I had another. Oh yeah, Epstein. So Epstein apparently did kill himself, according to Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. RIP their mentions on social media. Let's check out this audio.
You know a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
He killed himself.
You want me to? I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
I can't believe it. I didn't even think he killed himself, and I'm kind of. I wouldn't say I'm anti-conspiracy theory. I would say that I'm perpetually skeptical of anything that gets popular online with no evidence. I always like to see the evidence. I just like evidence. I'm an evidence guy. That's it. I'm not pro or anti-conspiracy. I'm pro-evidence. So, and I still thought there's no way Epstein just killed himself. It seemed crazy. But Dan Bongino says so, and he's as credible as it gets. Cash Patel sitting right next to him. I was surprised by that. And again, I want your thoughts at aloha@alexmarlow.com. Couple other things to bring things home. DNC's on the brink of chaos over the potential ouster of David Hogg, according to a report we've got at Breitbart News, that a lot of people are not happy that Hogg is going to be removed because, again, the Democrats are completely dysfunctional and they need some help somewhere. And if someone wants to do something different, a lot of people are tolerant of it. Bruce Springsteen continuing to trash America in Europe. So he, I guess, did not get the memo of my viral hot take that seemed to pop up everywhere last week, that going to overseas to attack our country is worse. Trump said on True Social that Springsteen goes to a foreign country to speak badly about the President of the United States, hammering that point, and that's good. And just a great reminder that these Hollywood stars are, they write the songs, they sing the songs, they talk about the hardworking people being out of work, hardworking babies being out of work, and that's all they got to offer. They don't have to offer a bunch of wisdom about the world. Very sad news to report that Katy Perry's Las Vegas residency is a complete failure, I'm told. And I just don't know why people weren't tuning into stuff like this. Check this out. Look at her hop around. Unbelievable. She's adorkable. She's doing 80s aerobics. She's got a lot of hair extensions. She's dressed like she's at an EDM concert. She just moon people. She's got terrible bangs, glitter. She's got no moves, no dance moves. Nice, Misty. That's a new one. I hadn't seen that one. Thank you for that. All right, let's do a little more. Okay, so this is a poop in a toilet. So she's singing a song. There's a poop, a turd in the toilet with a face on it, and is dancing in a giant. The microphone for the poop is corn. This is just it's, I take it back. I take my $700 and I'm going to fly to Vegas to go see this. I'm going to take a Southwest flight. This is wild. Thank you for finding this. I'm completely disgusted, and I'm glad I didn't play it earlier in the show. Let's play some more. It's just a really good song too. It's like she didn't have that many good songs. That's a really good song. Like, what's your deal with that? Why is she going to ruin it with a turd? Now I'm just thinking about a singing turd, which is not new. South Park did that 25 years ago. You don't necessarily need this to be entertaining, like a singing turd. So I just said, is anyone finding this funny in the year 2025? Maybe I'm just getting older and I got all these young kids who are constantly making poop jokes that I just don't like. Maybe it's my problem, but it doesn't seem like good. Doesn't seem good. Let's play a little more. But she's got no moves. The point I made last time, which is so important, is that if she wasn't paid millions of dollars, you would never humiliate yourself in this way. It's not funny. It's not entertaining. And she was at, I guess, Caesar's Palace, and she was getting between $750,000 and $900,000 a show after a bidding war. Wow. I guess a Resorts World won. So he was at Resorts World, which is a new hotel there, which I guess looks cool from the outside. I haven't been in it. I go to Vegas sometimes. I like Vegas sometimes. It's fun. I went last time and we saw Mariah Carey, and I'm not a big Mariah Carey fan, but she just sings and then people dance behind her, and it's good. Like it's a good show, because she knows how to sing. She's a great singer. So she just goes out and sings, and then everyone cheers, and then people dance behind her, and that's the show. So seemed like a good way to do a show. But I guess Katy Perry is missing a little thing I like to call talent. All right. Sad to see that fail. Malia Obama accused of plagiarizing an indie film for her Nike commercial. Let's pull this, maybe for tomorrow we can do more on this, but she's copied something. It's we're going to see a real interesting trend with nepotism, because a lot of people just feels like that are central to our lives have just been put there because they have famous parents. And as we continue to emphasize the DEI stuff and the woke stuff and not excellence as a country, but we still need to do stuff like put out commercials, and then we're looking at the crop of people coming out of film schools or whatever, and they're not that great, and maybe they can't function in a corporate environment. So they think, well, who could do that? Maybe we'll get someone who's, I don't know, some famous person's daughter, like president's daughter. Let's get her to do a commercial, and then just rips off people's ideas, apparently. So, noteworthy. Mark that trend. It's coming. The letdown of the Nepo babies. It's probably already here, to be honest. I don't think it's an entirely original idea of mine. All right, last one for today. WHO, World Health Organization, has cried poor as it faces existential crisis after U.S. funding cuts. Very upset the U.S. has cut funding to the World Health Organization that botched the pandemic every step of the way. They did not take it seriously at first and then tried to seize power during it. They cozy up to China, and they had a bill under Biden that they wanted to go through that would have given the World Health Organization universal power to declare something a pandemic, which would have taken away our national sovereignty. Cutting their funding is something I absolutely voted for, and credit to President Trump for doing it, and I'm glad to hear that they're upset about it. All right, that's it. That's today's show. There's a ton more to do, but that'll be good for now. We'll save it for tomorrow, and we'll be back all week. I'll save some more. I got some more updates. We'll do them later in the week. That's good. Thanks, Misty. Thanks to all of you in the audience. Aloha at alexmarlow.com if you want to correspond. Talk to you tomorrow.